Darrell Eastlake's passing on Thursday morning led to an outpouring of memories and tributes from across the sporting landscape and left a generation of footy fans mourning the end of the voice that defined their earliest rugby league experiences. He carried the excitement of State of Origin from Lake Park and the Sydney Cricket Ground into the lounge rooms of hundreds of thousands of Australian homes from 1983 to 1993 and helped to give gravitas to what is now the biggest sporting showcase in this country. Vossie's tribute, the man behind that voice. Eastlake passes away aged 750 to 33. Big hits were bigger when Darrell was behind the mic, and few have made more of an impact than his call of Wally Lewis hit on Darrell Williams in the 1989 Test series between the Kangaroos and Kiwis. Only as Lewis tells foxsports.com.au now, Williams was the unwitting recipient for a get square on Kiwi firebrand Brendan Tuta, a rugged lock forward who played 34 games for Western Suburbs from 1989-1990. Tuta was selected for the first test of the series in Christchurch and quickly earned the nickname, the baby-faced assassin. Bennett's Eastlake memories: 0.22 small in stature, but overflowing with aggressive intent. Tuta went on a one-man cull of the high-profile Kangaroos with tactics that could at the very least be considered questionable. Incensed by the barrage of cheap shots and apparently from Tuta into the back of Paul Vaughton, the Kangaroos skipper took matters into his own hands but sensationally missed his mark. He'd got 4 cautions in the build-up to it. Blokes were filthy with him. He gave Fatty a clouting, hit him late. Lewis recalled of Tuta's Test debut: "We were dirty on him and I don't think his teammates were any different because he kept giving away penalties, and then the moment presented itself." Rip Darrell Eastlake, remember fondly so many of his calls of different sports. My favorite still is this call of this Wally Lewis hit. What about that hit from Lewis? Talk about a bone rattler. pic.twitter.com/yopoecoip. Adrian Arciuli, @Adrian Arciuli, April 18, 2018. I could see that he was about to inject himself into the backline. Lewis remembered, he was going to come off the 5/8 and I thought, you beauty, here's my chance. I just made sure I kept looking inside to make it look like I didn't know that he was there, so he'd run that same line if I kept my eyes inside on the guy with the ball. He threw it, it was a out pass, and it was probably 1 or 2 steps later and I put the shoulder into him. Shoulder charges were legal those days and he went down and then I came down on top of him with an accidental elbow and hit him in the chin. I then looked at him. I was ripping the ball away from him because he seemed to have lost a bit of energy, and it was Darrell. Darrell Eastlake in commentary with Paul Vaughton, one of the most distinguishable voices in rugby league history. Source: News Corp Australia. He looked up at me a bit dazed and I said, "Shit, sorry Darrell, I thought it was that other bastard." At the end of the game, one went to see how Darrell was and he was okay, but I think he was dirty on Tuta at the same time. For those south of the Queensland border, Eastlake was one of the commentators responsible for bringing Lewis' exploits to a much wider audience. A legend in the Brisbane competition in the early 1980s, Lewis became the Blues' great tormentor in Origin's early days and Big Darrell was there to call all the action. He brought excitement to it. Lewis said of Eastlake's Origin influence, he loved rugby league. He was a great fan of it, but he made sure that the excitement on the field was also portrayed off the field, that people who were watching at home got to appreciate it just as much as those that were sitting in the stands. Darrell Eastlake's passion for rugby league came through in his calls. Source: News Corp Australia. It was just like sitting in the front row at Suncorp or the Sydney Cricket Ground when you were listening to him. The one thing that you rarely get the opportunity to do is to appreciate it with the same excitement as when you are at the ground when you are sitting in the lounge room chair, but with Eastlake you kind of felt like everything was there. You got goosebumps on the back of your neck when you used to hear him raise his voice. I don't think there'd be too many people that would ever say they weren't excited by a Darrell Eastlake call. He put plenty into it and made sure that the game reached a high in the lounge room as well. That's something that everyone got to appreciate over time. You used to look forward to that big Darrell Eastlake laugh and you were smiling in your lounge room as you were watching it because you got the chance to listen to him perform.